Procrastination saps productivity. Now, maybe there are good times to procrastinate. Maybe that can help you come up with new and fascinating ideas. But when you need to get some tasks done, procrastination is the enemy. So if you're anything like me, then you need some help fighting procrastination. Hey, welcome to ParkNotes. I'm Parker Settecase. I'm a philosopher, and this is a channel where I help you study, think, and read more deeply. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 ways to fight procrastination from Newport's book, How to Become a Straight-A Student. This is a pretty old book, but there are still some gems hidden in here. And so I've been mining this, looking for new ways to fight procrastination, help me be more productive, and help me accomplish my intellectual goals. I think Cal wrote this book when he was in grad school or when he just finished grad school. He surveyed a bunch of straight-A students from undergrad, and then he collated all their responses and added his own wisdom and turned it into a book. So in here, he gives 5 ways to fight procrastination. Now, I don't wholly agree with all 5 of his ways. As I go through all 5 of his ways, I'll let you know where I disagree, and maybe that'll be instructive for you. So make sure you watch the whole video so you get all 5 tips for fighting procrastination. Let's jump right in. Okay, so the first tip to fight procrastination is to keep a work progress log. One of the problems with procrastination is that it often hides from us. We're not always aware that we're procrastinating in the moment, but even if we are, we often don't know how much we've procrastinated in a given day. Keeping a work progress log can show you how much you've been procrastinating. This idea is super simple. You just get yourself a notebook, and each morning you list off all the tasks that you have to do for that day. Throughout the day, as you complete those tasks, put a check next to them or an X or a line through them. Show yourself that you've completed them, and then come back at the end of the day and see how much progress you've made on all of your tasks. Now, maybe this will show you that you actually are crushing it and you don't need to worry about the little amount of procrastination you've been doing. Alternatively, maybe it'll show you that you just have too many tasks that you're trying to accomplish each day and it's overwhelming or just not feasible or possible for you to do all those tasks in a given day. But it also might show you that you're wasting the time that you have to accomplish these tasks by procrastinating. So keeping a work progress log is a good way to gain some self-knowledge. How am I spending my time? Do I have realistic goals? And is procrastination destroying those goals? Now, I think this is the best tip that Cal offers, but this is the ParkNotes channel. I'm kind of obsessed with notebooks. I think they're one of the most beneficial tools for aiding your intellectual life. And since Cal wrote this book, he has become a major proponent of time block logging, where you look at your working day and you block off each section and you give a name to it. This is what I'm doing in this hour block or this half-hour block or this 90-minute block. Then you can actually plug your tasks from your task list into different blocks, so you show yourself, here's where I'm going to try to actually finish these tasks. I think you can mix this with a bullet journal as well, especially bullet journal notation. And I think this is a really easy way to fight procrastination. You see all the tasks that you have to accomplish. You've given them each a time of the day to work on them. And so you know, right now, if I'm scrolling through my phone instead of working on this task, I don't have any other time throughout the day to complete it, so I better stop scrolling on my phone. Now, I did a whole video on how you can mix and match time block logs with bullet journals. If you want to see more on that, check out this video up here. But that's tip number 1. Keep a work progress log. Use a notebook to keep track of your day and fight the urge to procrastinate. Tip number 2 to fight procrastination is feed the machine. Low energy breeds procrastination. Now, when it comes to nutritional tips, I'm a little bit uneasy. Nutrition is like the Wild West, I think. Everyone's got an opinion. People keep giving contrary advice. And this book is from 2007. So definitely take this advice with a grain of salt, or not if you're like low sodium diet or something. Anyways, here are Cal's 4 nutritional rules for maximizing mental energy. Tip 1 is drink water constantly. Now, I generally think that's a good rule. Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. It's good for your brain. Rule 2, monitor your caffeine intake. So this one's really big for me. If I end up having too much coffee, I'm going to crash and be super unproductive for the rest of the day. I've noticed that this happens if I drink coffee too early in the day. I've heard that you should avoid drinking caffeine for the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking up. Let your body wake up itself, and then you can have your caffeine after your body's already naturally woken up. I've heard this will help you avoid a crash later in the afternoon as well. Rule 3, treat food as a source of energy, not satisfaction. So when it's productivity time, food is just fuel. Don't eat something big and heavy that's going to mess with your brain, something that's going to make you all sluggish. For me, if I have a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, then I'm going to feel super lethargic afterwards. So I've actually been trying glucose hacks. This is supposed to help stop insulin spikes. You can check out the glucose goddess method for more on that. I feel a little bit weird saying, yeah, I follow the glucose goddess method, but It is what it is. You can find that book in the description if you're interested at all. And then rule number 4 is don't skip meals. Now, I actually think this is exactly wrong. I've been intermittent fasting for like 2 or 3 years now, and I find my best mental clarity is from when I wake up to lunchtime because I'm not eating at all. I'm just drinking water and coffee. I feel good, I feel alert, and my mind comes alive. Every time I step off of this pattern of fasting and I eat breakfast, I end up losing that mental clarity. So that works for me. You might try it yourself. But whatever the case, you can take or leave these individual rules, but the main sentiment remains true. You are a body and a mind, and they work together. They interact with each other. So you have to take care of your body if you want your mind to work well. So get your nutrition right, do what works for you, and help your mind avoid procrastination. So tip number 3 for fighting procrastination is to make an event out of the worst tasks. So you have your task list, you have your work calendar, you have your course syllabus and the schedule for the full semester. Whatever the case, you know there are big things coming that you will definitely be tempted to procrastinate on. Cal says make an event out of your worst tasks. He suggests telling people about this task, maybe even talking up how bad it is, and then plan to go somewhere to go work on it. Somewhere kind of out of the way, so it's a hassle for you to leave and come back, so you won't be tempted to bail on that time that you've allotted for that difficult task. The reasoning goes like this. If you tell a bunch of people, hey, on next Tuesday, I'm going to accomplish this task, it's a bear, it's going to take me all afternoon, but I'm going over to that coffee shop 2 towns over, and I'm going to hammer it until it's done. Then there'll be a certain level of accountability. They will hold you to that. And maybe they don't even need to follow up with you. Maybe just telling them is enough to signal to yourself, hey, I better get this done. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want them to have to follow up with me and me tell them, oh no, I actually didn't get that done. I procrastinated all day. So I actually really love this suggestion. I do this often. I have a couple places that are a half hour away from me to an hour away from me. So it's a little bit of a drive. And this gives me like a burn the boats kind of mentality. There's no way I'm driving all the way back an hour and then try to go back again. No, I'm out there for the day. I'm out there until I get enough of this project done that I need to get done. I also like the idea of telling people that I'm doing this. 1 might be for safety. Hey, this is where I'm at. But 2 is, hey, on this day, I'm going to be unreachable. I have to get a bunch of this project done. I have to get a bunch of this idea down on paper. I have something that I'm doing all afternoon or all day. So if you send me a DM, an email, a text, there are so many different ways that I get messages today. If you send me one of those on this day, don't expect me to get back to you right away. So I love to get out to one of these spots, turn off my phone, and then just dial in and get to work on what I need to do. This is often essential for me to get big tasks done. Now, I disagree with Cal on talking up how bad this task is going to be. If I do that, it's just going to make it worse for me. The more I say this is difficult and hard and man, I hate doing this kind of stuff, the less I want to get this task done. Man, if it's really that bad, I'll just find a way out of it. So I may say that this is difficult or hard or it's not my favorite thing to do, but I like to emphasize when talking with others that this is manageable. I can get it done. If I go out there and give it the time required to get it done, I'm definitely going to get it done. That kind of positive self-talk is really helpful for me. So I don't recommend you talk up how difficult and hard the task is going to be. But again, to each his own. Okay, so tip number 4 to fight procrastination is to build a routine. Cal Newport and the students that he interviewed all argue that time in the late afternoon and early evening is super susceptible to being globbed onto by other things other than the tasks that you need to get done. Now, maybe your unique life situation makes it so that you can only do your cognitively demanding tasks at night, but if you can't avoid it, then shift that kind of work to the mornings. I think there actually is some literature on doing cognitively demanding things early in the morning for best results, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, and I feel like this literature changes a lot. Anecdotally, I'll say that I do my best work a half hour to an hour after I wake up, all the way through noon or like 1:30. I can force myself to do cognitively demanding things after that, but it's much more of a slog and it takes much more effort to do so. But even if that weren't a psychophysiological type thing, still people want to hang out with you in the afternoons. You want to leave your work, you want to leave your class, you want to go hang out with friends and family and see your kids. Whatever the case, afternoons and nights are harder to protect for cognitively demanding tasks. And it's much easier to procrastinate once the sun goes down. Try to set aside and protect those earlier hours. He also recommends using those hours to do the same kinds of work every week. So maybe you look at your schedule and you say, hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have an hour and a half in the morning that I can set aside to study this, to work on this project, to learn this new skill. And you make that your learning time, your progress time, your getting your tasks done time. There's something about making it a routine that really helps. This is not my time to procrastinate. This is my time to do X, Y, or Z. I know that because I do it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or I do it every single day, or I do it every weekday. Now, I love this tip. This has been really helpful for me as I design my own university-style courses to teach myself new things. Before I went to grad school, I spent 5 years teaching myself the kinds of things I'd go on to learn in my 3 master's degrees. This helped me a ton. It put me ahead of a lot of my classmates, and it put me in touch with a lot of my professors' works before I even knew them. I would set apart days where I'm studying philosophy, or specifically logic, or systematic theology, or the works of C.S. Lewis. I made my own courses and pretended I was in my own university, and then I scheduled out class periods to watch YouTube videos, and I scheduled study time to read and to write. It was a really helpful way to structure my autodidactic journey, my self-learning journey. If that's something that interests you guys, I did a whole video on that. You can check that somewhere up here. So that's tip number 4, build a routine. Look at your week, find out when you have some free time or carve out some free time. Protect that time from procrastination and use those same hours to do the same kinds of things to build a routine. Okay, and last but not least, tip number 5, to fight procrastination, choose your hard days. Sometimes in your intellectual pursuits, you're going to have really, really hard days. These are days where you have to finish writing a paper or write a paper from scratch. Been there, that's terrible. You're going to have to do a lot of study sessions. You're going to have a bunch of tests on the same day, or you're at work and you got behind on a project and you just have to buckle down, settle in, and hammer something out. These kind of days are going to come, but they don't have to catch you off guard. You can plan for them. So Cal recommends looking at your calendar and plan out those long, arduous, hard days, but make sure you separate them from each other. There's nothing worse than getting blasted by 2 hard days in a row. Set those things far apart from each other. So let's say you're a student. Give yourself 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the semester or before that final paper is due, and use a hard day to knock out a penultimate draft of your final paper. Now you have the bulk of it complete and in front of you, and you can use those 2 or 3 weeks to further revise it, to tune things up, to get feedback from friends, and you're going to have a much better paper. I really like doing this. I used to be someone who would let procrastination push all my assignments right up until the due date, but I started combating this by pretending that the due dates were 2 or 3 weeks sooner than they really were. Then I could still give myself that positive eustress, and I could give myself one of those really hard days, which I used to knock out the brunt of my papers, and then I had 2 or 3 bonus weeks to really sharpen up those papers. Now, if you manage your time and your tasks well, maybe you can avoid some of these hard days, but I actually like using them to knock out a major portion of a project or a paper or a cognitive task. Then I can breathe, it's not hanging over my head as bad, and I have bonus time to tighten it up. So choose your hard days, plan for them, don't let them happen to you. You go and happen to them. All right, so that's it. There are 5 tips for fighting procrastination from Cal Newport's book, How to Become a Straight A Student. If you made it this far into the video, then leave me a little thinky emoji so I know who the real ones are. You guys are awesome. If you liked this video, then make sure to leave me a like. And I want to hear from you guys. Leave me a comment. Which tip do you think is best or most helpful? Do you already use some of these tips? And if you have a tip that is not on this list, please let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for help fighting procrastination. All right, that's going to do it for now. I'll catch you guys next time.